There is another side to this successful venture. Out of sight, God was busy preparing leadership for a new work.
Okay, before I came to Maranatha, I was teaching at Faith Baptist Bible College, and before that I pastored in Texas, and I taught in Montana, and I taught in Kansas City. But also, before we started Maranatha, while I was here at Faith, we were influential in starting Slater Baptist Church. We talked about that in the dining hall at Faith, and that was part of the beginning of Slater Baptist Church.
And I think that the Lord sent just the right man to be the pastor of our, starting church, because he has such a sweet spirit. He's soft yet very firm of what he believes and how things are supposed to be done.
I met Pastor Dayton, and I said to him, "What's going on in Grimes?" And he said, "Well, there's nothing going on." And I said, "That would be good for a faculty member at Faith to try to start a church there, because the faculty member would have a salary from Faith." And I didn't really think of myself as the one. I just thought, I was speaking in general terms. He talked to Dr. Humrickhouse, and Dr. Humrickhouse got back in touch with me after a couple months and said, "Are you really interested in starting a church in Grimes?" Kind of shocked me, because I hadn't been thinking of me. And in fact, I was in such a state of shock, I just said yes.
This assembled team came together and held their first service on September 7th, 1995. What a great time together.
That first Thursday night of our Bible study, we met in I believe it was the science room, in the science lab. And there were 23 of us there. And that first night we sang the song, "To God Be the Glory," which became our theme song for Maranatha Baptist Church.
And we decided then that in September we would start with the Bible study. And we started with the Bible study on September 7, 1995. And that was the beginning, really, of what became Maranatha Baptist Church. At first we just called it a fellowship, but eventually became a church.
Not only had God provided the necessary leadership and teamwork for this new church, God was also working to provide a place for them to meet.
We had actually told Dr. Hartog that we would be willing to use our home, but I think at the first Bible study we did have, we had 23, and our house would have been pretty crowded.
And one of the first things we had to do, even before the first Bible study, and this was a real challenge, we had to find a place to meet. And we went around and couldn't find any place to meet, but Rich Skinner thought of the junior high school there in Grimes.
At that time, there weren't too many places in Grimes where we could actually meet. In the first Bible study that we had met in the Lions Club down on Main Street. And it had a pretty good size meeting room, but there were no other rooms available for such things as Sunday school or children's ministries or anything like that. So we had to decide where we were going to meet, or try to find a place where we could meet. The logical place was the old middle school, and I contacted the school. Dr. Dennis Bishop was the superintendent of the school system at the time. He referred me to Jerry Crosser, who was the principal of the middle school. I called Mr. Crosser and asked him if we would be able to use the school facilities for a meeting place, and he indicated that we could. It was kind of interesting that at the time Mr. Crosser told us that probably within just a few days of when I had called him, another church group had contacted him and said that they were interested in using the school and asked permission to use the school for their services. And he said, "I'm sorry, I've already promised it to the Baptists." And I'm not sure that that's the first indication, but it was one of the indications that we got that this was the Lord's time for the church to begin. After the first Bible study and some of the discouragement there, and things just not happening, we saw things starting to happen. And this was an encouragement to me and to all of us, I think, who were involved at that time.
With a foundation laid and some early trials behind them, this church was beginning to grow.
And I wanted the praise to go to God. I didn't want everybody to say, with Pastor Hartog, it's because of him. Because it wasn't because of me. It was because of God working through people. Not just me, but through many, many people in the church. And our first song that we ever sang as a Bible study was "To God Be the Glory." And that was our theme song throughout all those 10 years. I hope that Maranatha still sings that, because that was our goal, that God would be praised and God would get the glory for what he has done.
Through all of the transitions and trials necessary for a church to be mature, God continually provides. As we look back on the past 13 years, we can only say,
"To God be the glory. To God be the glory.
To God be the glory."